Australian made and owned, Hi-Tech Oils is one of the largest oil blenders in Australia with a truly national profile, supplying an extensive range of oils, coolant, grease, batteries and much more for all businesses and consumer needs. Choose Hi-Tech Oils for peace of mind.
On today's show, we return to Sydney Dragway out at Eastern Creek for our continued opening round coverage of the 2019-20 400 Thunder season. It's the Atlantic Oil's East Coast Thunder, and this week it's the crowd favourites that are Pro Slammer who take centre stage. Then we head down the highway to Wakefield Park Raceway in Goulburn, where the Australian Supertruck Nationals get ready to do battle in the final round of an action-packed 2019 season. This is Speedweek.
Welcome to Sydney Dragway. We're at the Atlantic Oil East Coast Thunder, and on today's show we are going to be looking at those awesome supercharged sedans, the Pro Slammers. Well, we've had a champion for 2 years in a row in the form of Paul Mouhayet, but he has elected not to come back and contest the series this year. It means it's thrown the door open for numerous teams to try and fill that void. What is going to happen? Nobody knows. This is round one of the new championship, but Benny Bishop's down in the pits. He's trying to find out the goss.
After breaking amazing records in the turbocharged world, Paul Mouhayet and the Moits team decided that they wanted to take on Pro Slammer. They did that with 2 back-to-back titles, and as a result, they've declared mission accomplished. So there's one team that is so keen to fill that position. Mark Hinchelwood, the Morris Fabietti team, mate, this is the year.
Absolutely, yeah, bring it on. Fabietti Racing have spent a great deal of money, time and effort in putting together what I think is one of the best cars actually out there in the Pro Slammer Turbo 400 series. 400 Thunder series for the season. It's a brand new Murray Anderson car. We've spent 6 months in the development stages, another 6 months in actually putting this thing completely together. It's going to be hopefully a very fast car.
Confidence-wise from testing?
Yeah, we look incrementals-wise, it looks really, really good. The car's going to be fast. It's going to be good.
Excellent. So what's happened to the other car then?
Yep, so we are the only Slammer team actually out there with a passenger seat, and we actually do ride days, so you can actually buy a ride in one of these Slammers, and I got to tell you, it's absolutely awesome strapping in someone for a ride of their lifetime.
Well, Benny, that's not the only new car we've got in the field. Back and racing again this evening is Kelvin Lyle. Welcome back all the way from Western Australia. It's a big haul to get this car over here.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a good 4 to 5 day track, but I don't know, we've got the car ready to go, so we've got to come back and try and get the championship.
Well, it's a brand new car. Obviously, last year at Willowbank, you had a bit of an incident. Exactly what happened there? The car, unfortunately, was a ride-off. You want to take us through some of the events?
I was probably pushing a bit hard on that run. It was a really bad reaction time and probably held on to it a bit long and just got out of the groove and tried to bring it back, and the back end just came around, and that was about the end of it.
Well, the good news was you already had this car on order earlier in the year, so it was already being built, and I believe you've also brought some crew over from America for this round.
Yeah, I've got John Salemi back again. He was actually with us last year here when we won the event, and he came to Brisbane as well, so he signed up for the year again.
They're just 2 of the drivers that are going to be trying to take over that top spot that Paul Mouhayet got last season. There he is, 519 championship winning points ahead of multi-time winner John Zappia. Ben Bray was a revelation. He really just did start to make a big move. He ended up in third spot ahead of Stephen Ham. And of course, Emilio Spinozzi continues to challenge. But it is going to be thick and fast. Pro Slammer qualifying, only 8 cars will get to contest the elimination racing come Saturday. We kicked off with qualifying Q1 for the Pro Slammers. And that man, Mark Hinshelwood, was one of the first cars out against Kelvin Lyle. Lyle got away smartly, but Hinshelwood was loose very early. And Kelvin Lyle, 5.81 to set the early qualifying pace in Pro Slammer.
And it's a pretty good pass in these conditions. Track temp about 55 degrees it was for Q1 here. Moving into the next pairing, we had Paul Canuli far from screen here, on screen now to take on the car of Jeff Braden.
Yeah, the difference here is that Canuli's running a screw-type supercharger, the only one in the field. Everybody else runs the PSIs. They behave differently. And in this case, Braden was the one that laid it down with a 5.88 straight up. Canuli a 5.93 to show that they've got the potential to get back up at the top.
Next up, Marty Dack on screen in the Mustang. It looked like he actually had some issues here in Q1. He got shut off and pushed back, but it was only a loose fitting for the team.
It's really disappointing for them because they had been very quick up at the Jamboree at Willowbank a few months before. Michelle Davies, she's back with her Mustang, really keen to take on the season this year, and she opened her account with a 661. It looked like it was quicker than that, but just didn't come up with the figures.
Yeah, they'd made some changes to the car in the off-season as well, so they're trying some new things. Next up, Stephen Ham to take on Emilio Spinozzi. Stephen Ham coming off his Winter Nationals victory in Pro Slammer, his first ever victory in Pro Slammer. And you know what they've done? They've done a host of changes as well to the combo and chassis here before the first event.
Well, Ham was the one that lit up the boards. 5.78 seconds to go to the top of the ladder. Spinozzi a 5.99. So we were pretty confident of having an all 5-second field, that is for sure, particularly when this pair rolled out.
Yeah, Benny Bray on screen. Take on John Zapier. John Zapier, no naming rights sponsor for the first time in a long time on his Monaro.
Massive power wheel stand by Ben Bray. And then the supercharger belt comes off and he still runs 6.00. But it wasn't a very happy pass for John Zapier, who ended with a 6.07. Going into Q2, Michelle Davies was back. They were trying to get on top of whatever had held her to a 6.6, but unfortunately for them, it was a shut it off and push the car back. Marty Dack, well, made it to the start line this time, but the car did not behave at all off the start line, on and off the throttle, and then the supercharger belt exits, and he was restricted to an 8.34.
Yeah, at the moment, the bump score was a 6.60 in Pro Slammer. John Zapier currently in the number 7 spot. At this point in time, you can see him coming forward, take on Mark Hinshelwood in the AC Delco Monaro. New chassis, new car for Mark Hinshelwood this weekend. They've done about half a dozen passes on the cars so far in the lead up to this event.
There was pressure on both of these drivers at this stage because neither had the first qualifying pass that they wanted. Hinshelwood a 5.83, that was closer to the mark, but John Zapier, the 11-time champ, was still struggling and could only manage a 6.03.
Jeff Braden up next. Great 5.80 pass in the first session qualifying for the team. Benny Bray was on a really good number as well in Q1. Let's see if they learnt a little bit from that pass. Get quicker this time in Q2.
Well, Bray's car didn't wheel stand quite as much, and the supercharger belt stayed on at this time. He ran a 5.78 to Jeff Braden's 5.82. So that had them very strongly in the field.
Yeah, both teams improving. Next pairing up, we had Emilio Spinozzi to take on Kelvin Lyle. Kelvin Lyle actually won this event 12 months ago in his older Mustang, which obviously had that unfortunate incident at Willowbank Raceway.
Lyle was looking to improve on his earlier 5.81. The Mustang looked very sleek, a 5.73. And guess what? That took Lyle straight to the top of the sheets ahead of Stephen Ham. Spinozzi 5.98. Consistent, but not quick enough, really.
And next up was Stephen Ham to take on Paul Canuli. Stephen Ham just seen that number 1 spot get taken away from him. We know the cars are improving here in Q2. What did Stephen Ham have for Calvin Lyle? It wasn't enough. Only runs a 5.74 to Canelli's 5.91. Both cars improving. But Calvin Lyle sticks in that number 1 spot. Now we move into Q3 for Pro Slammer.
This is where it all gets serious. The sun has set, the air's cooled off, the track has still got good temperature. We've seen incredible traction, and I think what we're going to get is an enormous fight to get into that field. Marty Dack is currently, he's on the outside looking in. He has not had a happy qualifying session. It was so quick at Willowbank just a couple of months ago, but somewhere along the way they've lost their combo. And, Spinozzi, he is close, but it is still tight. It's still very tight for that team.
I can tell you right now, John Zapier is on the bump stop with that 6.03. These guys need to be quicker than that 6.03. Spinozzi is in the field at the moment. Marty Dack, 6.03. That is the time to beat for the team. 4 weeks ago, these guys were running 5.80, 5.80, 5.80, pass after pass up at Willowbank Raceway. They've got the performance. They made a host of changes in the off-season. It worked for them. But it's about applying what they learned 4 weeks ago right now. Can they do it? Can they get in the field and be here at race day?
Oh, the car looks loose. It's near the centre line. It's onto the centre line. That is gone for Marty Dack. Emilio Spinozzi runs a 5.93 to improve a little, but Marty Dack won't make the field.
Impressive stuff. Michael Marriott's here. He's putting the speakers up so we can...
But it was all good. There was no drama. It was a bit of a drama at the braking. To come across, not in front of Dak, but that's no drama. But I did short shift that thing. Hey, he was on a mission, man. I can't believe I short shifted him.
There it is.
Sorry about the language. I just wanted you to hear how the driver comes back to us. I apologise for him swearing, but obviously driving a car that fast, you get pretty excited. But it obviously would have been quicker than that again. We're really, I'd like to thank the crew. They've just stuck with us all the way through. It's good. We're starting to make some headway. Darren Mayer, we use his engine and he's been so supportive. So thank you to everybody. Terra Civil, Spinozzi Racing. It's wonderful to be here in Sydney. Thank you.
Well, that's just a little more secure for Spinozzi, but you've got to feel for Marty Dack. A big haul across from Perth. Knows he's got a fast car, but just couldn't keep it in his lane.
No, yeah, a little bit of shake there off the start line for Marty Dack, and won't be facing race day.
We've seen it in the daylight, we've seen it at dusk, but now we have the opportunity to see it at dark. Ladies and gentlemen, get those cameras ready, but we really want you to put your applause together for the Magenta 67 Mustang of Michelle Shelley Davies from Davies Racing.
Benny Bishop there, just working the qualifying crowd Friday evening here at Sydney Dragway. And Michelle Davies, this is her shot to try and get into this tough Pro Slammer field. Mark Hinchelwood's in there at the moment, but I'm sure that he'd like to try and move up that ladder a little bit, Mark.
He would definitely like to move up that ladder, get into the top half of the field, have lane choice for racing in round 1 tomorrow. Michelle Davies is on the outside looking in. John Zapier won't be too far behind. He ran that 6.03, currently on the bump spot. It's like a repeat of the previous pass here in Pro Slammer in the same lane. Michelle Davies, can she get into the field? Mark Hinchelwood, he's looking to improve. It is the best conditions we've seen today for Pro Slammer. It was stinking hot earlier on. It has cooled down. The track has come around. They can make more horsepower. They can get a little bit more aggressive here.
There's Gareth Davies just guiding Michelle into the pre-stage to let her know she's around about 15-20 centimetres short of the start line beams themselves. Michelle got off the line first, and the chutes are out for Hinchelwood. He's got a problem. Michelle, a lot of smoke out of that car. It is dancing around the braking area after running a 6.43. That won't put her in the field, unfortunately.
Look at the Sunoco replay here. Got off the line really strong. And then we've seen a lot of smoke come out of the engine there. Down track, hopefully they haven't heard anything too serious there, but smoke is never usually a good sign. The oil is getting out somewhere there.
Yeah, so Michelle won't make the field, and Mark Hinchelwood would have to be satisfied with 5th. He won't be able to improve. That means John Zapier is now safe in the field. He won't want to stay at number 8, of course. And it's the first time we've seen him all in white. Benny Bish has got the story.
An iconic race car that has been a part of the furniture of drag racing in Australia for so many decades now, but for the first time in 13 years, doesn't have a naming rights sponsor. So it's on that basis, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome and make a whole lot of noise for Zap's rat, John Zappia.
Well, John is on the sponsorship hunt and wants to fill that white space on the side of his Western Australian-based Monaro, but he also wants to step out of the number 8 spot. Number 8 races number 1 in round 1. You don't want that.
And you know what? This is the sort of scenario that we see from John Zappia. Number 8 qualifier. How many times have we seen him go bang, number 1 spot? I wouldn't be surprised in these conditions. We see a 560 from John Zappia. It is there for the taking. Can he do it? He's backing up here. He hasn't got down the track yet this weekend at Sydney Dragway. Jeff Grad in the lane beside him has been Mr. Consistent in the 580 zone. Those guys are dark horses. Watch out for those guys this weekend.
Oh, Graden 588 and 582 in the heat of the afternoon this afternoon for qualifying. So he's already safely in the field. But what he'll want to do is convert that 582 into a 570 something. John Zappia, unless he goes number 1 here, he won't be satisfied. I don't care if he goes out and runs a 576 or something and puts him into number 3. That won't make him happy. He wants the number 1 qualifier spot. That's where he's used to being. Tell you what, late on the lights for John Zappia. It won't affect his qualifying. Radden, he's getting there. 580 just misses that 570 zone. 586 for John Zappia is a big improvement, but nowhere near what we would have expected.
Yeah, exactly right. Fighting from the outside in when it comes to that top 8. A double step, we're not used to seeing that.
No, well, John wasn't going to get off it. He just wanted to improve his position, and he knew he could drive it. We ran a 71 with a pedal the other day, so...
All right, we'll see you tomorrow, guys.
We look at the Sunoco replay here. John Zappia, you heard his crew chief mention that he double-stepped the throttle. So basically what that means is as he's launched, he's sort of gone on and off the throttle real quickly here. Watch on the front-on shot. On and off the throttle there. If you watch Jeff Graden to the right screen as well, he has a slight pedal just there as well. Out of Saratoga, that could have been a 579 pass as well.
Didn't miss it by much with a 580. Now things start to hot up. Paul Canuli on the right of screen up against Stephen Ham for TSP Racing. Ham has been flying in the RDW Excavator Parts Camaro. Convincing win at the final round of the championship at Willowbank Raceway's Winter Nationals. Whereas Paul Canuli, he's got American crew chief Mark Savage here this weekend to eke some more performance out of this Duster.
When we start talking about that number 1 qualifying spot, Stephen Ham, currently number 2, needs to improve by 0.004 of a second if he wants to get that number 1 spot off of Kelvin Lyle. I think the guys can do it. They have been on an absolute terror in this car. It is just going 570, pass after pass. I wouldn't be surprised if he can get that number 1 spot here. Paul Canuli, he's improved in both sessions of qualifying so far. We've said it. These are the best conditions that we will see today. This is the time. What can they run?
Ham needs a 5.736 to do it. Runs 5.66. Blasts into the number 1 spot. And, Canuli, a lot of smoke out of that car on another 590 pass. This time a 599. But Ham, he has convincingly jumped to the top of the qualifying sheets. Keep an eye on the Sunoco replay for the smoke that comes out of Paul Canuli's car. I think he's hurt that one.
I think you're right there, Rob. The front-on shot here should tell us a little bit more. Makes a little bit of a move there. Canuli to the left of screen, and then bang. You've seen those sparks, like a spark plug or something. Maybe a valve coming out through the pipes there. Smoke.
Yeah, I'd suspect the head of a valve there.
Yeah.
Not good news for the Canuli team. Well, he's in the field. They've just got to patch it up, get it out there for round 1 tomorrow. Kelvin Lyle, he has just seen the number 1 spot taken away from him by Stephen Ham. Now, can he come back? And what about this guy, Ben Bray? He is in good form running for Century Batteries.
Can you call him the comeback kid at the moment, Benny Bray? They really are finding some form.
Oh yeah, they're making some huge inroads, and I mean, he went out and ran in radial 8th mile racing with his car, changed the setup and everything, and was the first car in Australia to run 200 mile an hour in the 8th mile, the 200 metre racetrack, on radial tyres. Then they've had to throw everything they learned there away and change the car back to conventional 400 Thunder Pro Slammer racing. So very busy, that team. But Kelvin Lyle, they have to be delighted with the debut of this new Mustang. Oh, neither are going to improve. They both came out loaded for Bear, but unfortunately the Bear left them alone.
Well, I can tell you both the cars were very, very aggressive at the start line. Kelvin Lyle went 0.950 to the first increment on the track, about 20 metres out, so 0.950. Benny Bray was 0.980 of a second. Both the cars, you could see the shake on Benny Bray's car, the tyre shake. Very, very aggressive. They were so close to getting the setup right on that run.
Yeah, they were headed for a 560 if it hung on, but guess what? Woulda, coulda, shoulda, it didn't. They will stay in their current qualifying positions. This is what we have after 3 rounds of Pro Slammer qualifying. Stephen Ham, 566 is on top, ahead of Kelvin Lyle's 573. Ben Bray with a strong 578. Jeff Gradden, Mr. Consistency with a 580. Hinchelwood, Zapier, Canuli, Spinozzi. It's an all 5-second field in Pro Slammer at the Atlantic Oil's East Coast Thunder. We're going to have some huge matchups in round 1 of eliminations, and that's first up after this short break. Welcome back to Sydney Dragway and the Atlantic Oil East Coast Thunder. Qualifying's run and done for Pro Slammer. We've got some fantastic racing coming up in round 1. But the conditions today, warmer, track conditions, stickier. We've already seen 560s. Is it going to get quicker than that? Well, the guy that should know is our number 1 qualifier, Stephen Ham. He's down in the pits with Benny Bishop.
Steve Ham, the last time you top qualified, you went on to win the event at the Winter National. Same again for this weekend, we hope.
Well, we can only pray. Let's just take it one run at a time, yeah. It's a bit hotter today. It's already 3 degrees up on yesterday, so the track was at 135, so it's probably going to be 140 today. Real tricky, so slow it right back down and go A to B. You know, the car we're running, racing against first round is Spinozzi. His car lapped every run yesterday in the heat, so you know, you can't let your guard down.
There are no easy races in round 1 of Pro Slammer. As Stephen Ham said, he's up against Emilio Spinozzi, Jeff Gradden to take on Mark Hinchelwood, Kelvin Lyle against Paul Canuli, and undoubtedly the race of the round, Ben Bray against John Zapier. Whenever those two face each other, you know there's going to be fireworks.
Up first, we've got Paul Canuli to take on Kelvin Lyle in round 1 of racing. Kelvin Lyle won this event last year. This car's been really good in the heat. They've found a real sweet spot. They're running 570s. Paul Canuli was fairly consistent in qualifying. He went 3 590s. He's a couple tenths off the pace, but anything can happen here in round 1, especially when you're talking 4,000 horsepower sedans with track temps over 50 degrees, trying to apply this horsepower on a greasy track. That's where the fun starts for these guys.
Well, Paul Canuli with his root style supercharger, as opposed to the conventional screw type that most of the other guys use, his car's allowed to be lighter. It doesn't have quite as much horsepower, but the lighter weight means he's very quick to the half track mark. He needs to build a lead. He knows that they're going to be running him down at the finish line, but he doesn't care if they come past a millimetre past the finish line. As long as they don't come past him before the finish line, he's quite happy. So he's just taking a slightly different approach to his Pro Slammer racing. Kelvin Lyle, you have to say, he's been in very good form. It's going to be a bit of a job for Canuli. We've seen him drop some big hole shots up there.
Kelvin Lyle now in pre-stage. You can see at the back of the Mustang there. Paul Canuli, he's in full stage. He's got the hole shot as well. He's done the first part of the job.
Unfortunately, though, it's gone away for Canuli, and Kelvin Lyle, 576, 410 kilometres an hour, Benny.
Yeah, absolutely. Just checking out, John, having a look at some rattles there. Have a look. You might get a quick opportunity here to have a just look at the way that the rubber has affected the racetrack there. John Salimi, maybe explain to people who don't understand, that's not, that looks a little bit bumpy.
Well, yeah, that's actually the tire kind of rolling over itself as it goes out there. We got a way different racetrack condition today than we did yesterday, because as you go on in the race weekend, the track gets more beat up and there's more traffic on it and it gets more rubber on it. And today, of course, we have a beautiful day for everybody sitting in the stands, but as a tuner and a racer, we like to see that sun kind of go away a little bit and give the track a little bit cooler temperature, because then we have more traction. But it's all about managing the power and bringing it in as it smoothly rolls out, and hopefully that'll stick as low ET for the round today.
Well done, well explained, but you mastered it. Well done.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Yeah, we're down here in the far end. We're just going to grab Kelvin Lyle. He's still going very fast, even in these hot conditions. Kelvin, how'd the car feel on that run?
Oh, it felt really good, actually, yeah. Last year in the heat was the same, so this is probably no different.
It sounded strong from the far end.
Yeah, he pulled really good. I don't know what the times were, but...
We're in the 70s again.
Yeah, right, yeah, that's good.
Great debut for that car so far at the Atlantic Oil's East Coast Thunder. Next up in Pro Slammer, we've got another debutante car in the form of Mark Hinchelwood's AC Delco-backed Monaro. And, of course, we've got Jeff Gradden for Sigra Rolling Stock, and he has been the picture of consistency through qualifying.
He went 580 passes in qualifying. Very, very consistent. Only 300ths of a second separated the two cars. When I look at what Mark Hinchelwood did in qualifying, he only got down the track once out of 3 passes. So you would definitely say the odds would be in Jeff Gradden's lane at the moment. But this AC Delco Monaro of Mark Hinchelwood's, they are still learning what this new chassis wants. They've only done probably about 8-9 passes now in this new car. Every single time they come out, they learn a little bit more. They get a little bit quicker, just finding out what its niche is, what it needs to get down this track a little bit quicker.
And of course, team owner Morris Fabietti, a very well accomplished tuner of these cars, decided to jump out of the driver's seat and just concentrate on the team management and tuning, and has certainly produced some great results with Mark Hinchelwood behind the wheel. Jeff Gradden, as I said, this Dodge Saratoga is a wild beast, but a best of 5.80 seconds in qualifying. Oh, this will be close. This will be tough. There's not much separating this pair. Side by side, have a look. Gradden, a 584 hole shot win over Mark Hinchelwood's 581. He got there by the best reaction time.
We see a supercharger bouncing around on that bonnet of the Monaro. Yeah, maybe let's have a look at that replay again. But, mate, lost in the first round. Still got a smile, though.
It's a new car. We went 81, 250. Lee White's been out here from America, give us a hand with the car. He's been doing a great job setting it up, fast tracking a new car to get it down the track. So what can you do, bud? You've got to be out here to do it, so let's do it.
Yeah, you've done well, mate. Let's have a look at that replay again and talk us through it.
It's $1,000, $2,000, $3,000.
I'm glad that you could laugh.
Oh, well, what do you... I don't want to cry on TV.
No, exactly right, but where do we see the blow here?
Yeah, maybe when he's got off the gas, it's gone a bit lean or something. Or the studs have failed. They're pretty common, they can fail just for no reason.
Bummer. We're not going to see you in the second round, but it's still good to see your smiling face, mate.
No problems. Great to see the crowd out here into the hot days.
Yeah, we're down here with our winner of this pairing, and it is Jeff Gradden. Mate, you must have had your coffee this morning because you got Hinchelwood on a hole shot.
Is that right? Yeah, what was the time?
You've got an 84, he's got an 81, but you got him on the lights.
Well, he'll be a bit upset about that, but I'm pretty pleased.
Mate, you look pretty happy about this. We'll let you go and turn the car around for round 2.
Thanks very much.
I can tell you what, this is going to be the first semi-final for Jeff Gradden since 2014. Way to go to those guys. Now we move into the next pairing. John Zappia, we are on board the Burnout to take on Benny Bray. This is our matchup of the round, Rob.
Oh, without doubt, Ben Bray and the Century Battery Speed Flow Corvette from Queensland. John Zappia, 11 times Slammer champion from Western Australia, but he has qualified back in the field. Ben Bray, 570 in qualifying. And it's been a while since I would have said that Ben has gone into a matchup with John Zappia as, well, pretty warm favourite, I'd put him.
Well, see what's happened, Zappia has changed the combo in his car. They've actually got a lot more power now than what they previously had. They're struggling to work out how to apply it to the track. And it's sort of like a good dilemma to have, but you sort of want to get it sorted before you get to round one of racing. So they're making more horsepower. Have they found a way to apply it and get it to the finish line under power?
Well, Ben Bray, he likes every time he gets to face up against John Zappia. Regards it as a benchmark. The only guy he likes to beat more is his father. But inside with John Zappia, in the office, so to speak, nice and warm in there, and a multi-layer fire suit. Oh, problem for Zappia. We heard a pop. We saw a backfire under the supercharger. And Ben Bray, 581 for the win, 400 kilometres an hour.
VB, how good is that? It's like the boy, the kid, he's in a purple patch.
Yeah, he's been going, but he's doing a lot of work on it. He did changed it over to radials and did a bit of radial stuff, and ran the first 200 up in Queensland the other day. Learned a lot out of that, how to sort of manage the fuel. Had a lot of runs that he could go back on, fall back on. He has nowadays, and he's made some serious changes to the suspension and to a way that he manages the power in the car, and things have been paying off for him, so good on him.
I reckon we should have a look at that replay, mate, and we can have a look at just where he took that race. It was pretty full on, and it was tough to half track. So let's look as we look at the right-hand lane. Thanks to Rocket Industries. Man, it was close there.
Yeah, it has been carrying the wheels a little bit more than he'd like, and obviously that's what happened there. I don't think he backed off because his throttle position's always dead flat. He don't back off for very much, but he's doing a good job up there, so see how he goes.
Yeah, we'll quickly go Ben Bray, mate. 81, that's pretty happy with that one. You must have heard the big pop from the blower from John Zappia.
Yeah, it was a pretty close race. I'm pretty sure I got the whole shot there. He got pretty close to me, and then obviously something went away on his car. But hey, any day you can take a win away from that champ. It's a pretty good day for me. Century Batteries helped me get here. I get him around win. Good start of the season, going to the semis.
See you next round.
Hope so. Hopefully we get to talk again.
Good to see the reigning champ out here, not in a race suit though, but doing a little bit of sales with the brand name.
Yeah, it's much more comfortable in a t-shirt and shorts, mate, than what these guys would be. Yeah, we've got fuel tech on Steve Ham's car, so it's working pretty well. Kelvin Lyle's running fuel tech as well, so number one and two qualifiers, really happy with it.
Great to have Paul Mouhayet here, the reigning champ, as we go racing again.
Yes, it's all about engine management these days in Pro Slammer as we ride on board with Emilio Spinozzi. I got to say, the onboard shots of John Zappia's supercharger backfire were very dramatic in the last race. It's great to be able to put the small cameras inside these cars these days, and Stephen Ham, number one qualifier to take on Emilio Spinozzi, and you know you're up against a guy that has grabbed so many wins that he probably wasn't expected to.
You're right. Emilio Spinozzi has been very consistent, but I'm going to throw some stats at you, Rob, with Stephen Ham. Going back to the Winter Nationals, his last 7 passes in competition, he did 6 consecutive 570 passes before he reeled off that 560 run to get that number one spot. How about that in Pro Slammer? That's incredible.
Yeah, we talked about a few of the other races being consistent, but Stephen Ham's been consistently quick right up at the pointy end of the field, and I mean his slowest pass of all of those still being in the 570s. You have to think that what he'll want here, he talked about, they will have backed it off here. He doesn't want to risk overstepping the mark and bowing out while the track is hot, and maybe not quite as much traction as you get later.
Yeah, Stephen Ham got up and down on the two-step there on the start line. He's lost the blowout. He gets the win though, 589 at 347 kilometres an hour. Spinozzi was catching him at 5.94 seconds at over 400 kilometres an hour. Stephen Ham gets lucky in the first round. It was almost the commentator's curse after I just gave him all the the good stats about the car and how consistent it's been, and then he blows the blowout off the car and gets lucky here in round one.
Yeah, Spinozzi had 100th of a second hole shot, and it wasn't quite enough. He came back at him, but Stephen Ham still gets the win by the slenderest of margins. This should be a good angle to see. I think we'll see. Out the window, yeah, you could see Ham's car disappear and then come back in frame as Spinozzi blasted past, but just a moment too late.
Yeah, we do have Stephen Ham down here. He's just congratulating Emilio Spinozzi. What a close race that was. Steve, it's gone really fast out of the hole, but you've lost the blower belt. We can see there on the bonnet a little bit of damage too to the carbon fibre there, but you get yourself a win, 48 thousandths of a second, the boys are telling me.
Mate, you know, I knew it was out in low gear and it had to go 75, 6, somewhere in there, and I was hoping for it, and then it's just gone boof, and I've gone, come on, arms out the window.
Well, you've rolled over because Spinozzi, well, he's been doing 90s all day, so you're very, very lucky.
Yeah, thank God we're through to round 2. I don't know who we got, but we better go sort our problems out and come back for round 2, eh?
See you soon.
That is a get-out-of-jail-free card, almost. And he wanted to know the pairings. It's not going to get any easier. Stephen Ham will be facing Jeff Gradden in the semi-final. Kelvin Lyle up against Ben Bray. That'll be another cracker. Well, plenty of work down in the Ham pits.
Yeah, guys, there was obviously, you would have noticed in that race win there for Steve Ham and the TSP Racing Camaro, they did throw a blower belt. So what was behind that? Apparently input shaft is actually broken, and that changed from 4th to 5th. So these guys are absolutely thrashing. Steve doesn't even have enough time to have a chat to us about what that means or whether they will get out. Now, as far as schedule goes, keep in mind that we're dealing with, I think, 4:30 ready for the pro categories to return. Door Slammers nestled in there a little bit. All the same, they are really behind time. It'd be a shame if they were to win that first round and not make it out for the second round and capitalise.
Well, an extremely professional team down in the RDW Excavator Parts pit area, and we'll have to wait and see, but I'd count them in for that semi-final, and it's going to be 2 huge matchups in Pro Slammer at the Atlantic Oil East Coast Thunder. We're going to bring you all of that straight after this short break. Welcome back to Atlantic Oil's East Coast Thunder at Sydney Dragway. We're headed for the semi-final of Pro Slammer. Absolutely fearsome qualifying to just get into the 8-car field. And then to make it through round 1 has taken a little bit of luck for Stephen Ham, but the team, they have just thrashed and have got it back for this semi-final confrontation after a lot of engine damage in round 1.
Jeff Gradden actually had lane choice in this round of racing. Gradden, I spoke about him in round 1. He's been my dark horse this weekend. He's run 4 consecutive 580 passes now in this Saratoga. Stephen Ham, our number 1 qualifier, scraped through in round 1. He'll be looking to make amends after that showing that we saw in round 1. It still went at 589, rolling off the throttle there across the finish line. It's a good matchup here in the semi-finals.
That it is, and can Jeff Gradden, after making it into his first semi-final since 2014, convert that into a final round appearance here at Sydney Dragway? You certainly can't count him out, because we saw his first round performance. We saw the consistency of that car all the way through qualifying. And Steve Ham, they've had a thrash. Whenever you've got to really push that time barrier to make the start, you know that little things can be missed. You mightn't have had enough time to do those fine adjustments that you wanted to do to take into account these changing weather conditions.
And it's all about the 1%ers as well, Rob. You're right there. If one of the crew members just misses one little thing as well when getting the car back together, it can cause major consequences on the track. Gradden, we've seen running the 570s previously. And it won't happen here because he's left the dreaded red light on the tree. Knew he had to take a shot at it. Stephen Ham will get the win. Goes 573, 409 kilometres an hour. Gradden runs another 580 pass, but the red light on the tree gives the win light to Stephen Ham.
Well, the car appeared to just roll a little early, and then look, there it is, you saw that move, and he's gone, well, it's moving, I can't hold it, I might as well nail the throttle and I hope to get away with it, but unfortunately the green wasn't on in time for him. And I think Steve Ham might have been, a centimetre or two in front at the finish line anyway, but, well, it's a case of Ham going to the final, Benny.
Yeah, it was a good enough time to win, but the red light just takes the pressure off in that other lane.
100%, yep, yeah, lucky there, lucky than good today so far. First round we were lucky, second round we're lucky again, yeah, so, that's a good recovery. We broke the transmission on the run before, thrash like mad, as you know, and it's come round and that's gone down A to B again. We've got some data to work with for the next one.
Team was thrashing in between rounds, mate.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that needed to lose a bit of weight and stuff like that. So, no, it was very good. Yeah, they worked hard. We were a little bit chaotic, but yeah, we got there in the end. Yep.
You did well, got you into the finals. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Mate, we are down here with Stephen Ham. You're going through to the final of the Atlantic Oils East Coast Thunder. How does it feel?
It's good. I don't know who we get to run yet. We just thrashed till the last second. It broke the shaft in between the drive unit and the gearbox. We couldn't get it apart. It was all twisted in there, so we had to make a call to change gearbox ratios, drive units, everything, which changed the whole tune-up, so we were a bit scared. So I went and shook pretty hard just then. I didn't even know what it ran, but... do you want me to tell you? Well... You're in the 570s. I went 70-something because I seen Jeff went red, and I went, well... That was a lot of relief, so yeah, let's see who we run, eh? Well, you get yourself an hour to turn that car around. Oh, thank you very much.
Riding on board with Kelvin Lyle in the Direct Mining and Industrial Mustang for his burnout. Looks very relaxed in the car, doesn't he, Mark?
He did look very, very relaxed. It's a Sunday cruise for Kelvin Lyle at 400 kilometres an hour. Benny Bray is the man now that wants to beat Kelvin Lyle. Benny Bray, Kelvin Lyle, let's break down this race. We know Kelvin Lyle won this event last year in the new Mustang. He's run into the 570 zone. Benny Bray's run into the 570 zone. It's pretty much a flip of the coin, really, when you look at the two cars and their performances so far over the weekend. Benny is very sharp on the tree. Maybe that's where he could get an advantage over Kelvin Lyle. So Kelvin can't relax too much on the start line. He can't give any sort of advantage away. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the winner is whoever gets the reaction time advantage here.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. And in that area, I would probably favour Benny Bray for one reason. It's like a football. It's called match fitness. He's been doing a lot of racing. Kelvin Lyle, he got some injuries in that accident of his at Willowbank Raceway last January, and he's had a long layoff. This is his first event back. So just from that actual fact of being in the rhythm, in the groove, I'd probably favour Ben Bray on this one, just to maybe shade Kelvin Lyle in that reaction time. Then it comes down to whether Lyle's got enough horsepower under the bonnet of that amazing new Mustang to run him down.
I'll throw this one at you, Rob. You're only as good as your last pass.
Well, one of them will be as good as this next pass, because either Ben Bray or Kelvin Lyle is headed to the final of Pro Slammer to take on Stephen Ham.
Benny does have the whole shot.
Kelvin Lyle's coming at him. Oh, Ben Bray, 581 whole shot win over Kelvin Lyle's amazing 573. It was the reaction time that was needed for Ben Bray. Lyle was absolutely hunting him down towards the finish line. You saw him glance over there twice. He was looking across going, am I going to catch him? Am I going to catch him? And then he'll be going, did I get there in time? He won't know until he gets to the finish line, down the braking area, and Matt Kavanagh, the cameraman, walks to the other car.
I'll ask you this, Rob. Have you ever seen a Pro Slammer driver look across the other lane ever at 400 kilometres an hour? I don't think I've ever seen that.
That was absolutely fantastic in-car. Ben Bray's going to the final.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets. Vic, before we talked about that boy being in a purple patch. Man, he's driving so well.
Yeah, he's driving well, and he knew he had to do good there because Kelvin's car's just been on rails all weekend, going great. They're doing a fantastic job with it, and he knew that he could get a little advantage on the start line there, and he's just tied it up just a little bit. So it was great to see him get down there, get the win. Didn't go quite as fast as what he thought he had put in it, but he certainly got down there, got down there fast, and I could see the way that he was staging the car that he was ready to get on that orange light, mate, and go.
He's got that look in his eye, hasn't he?
I couldn't see his eyes. I just know what he does, the way he treats the car, the way he drives the car. So, congratulations, dude. Congratulations. I'll call Calvin Lyle on the team as well.
Well done, mate.
Yeah, we're here with Benny Bray. He's just walking away. Let's grab you for a second, mate. Last year you went drifting down the far end. This time I think you learned to drive a wheel stander.
Well, like these cars, watching them boys wheel stand at half track and all that for the last 3 or 4 years, and I thought they're crazy. I'd never do that. But hey, running Kelvin, that car's badass at the moment, and I knew that if I lifted, I lost that round. So I stayed on it, steered that thing in the air, and hey, I got the win. You tell me it was only just, but hey, a win's a win, man, and I'll take it.
I don't know how much sugar you had before that run, but you were hot on the lights.
Yeah, no, I was. I knew I had to get every advantage I could. It's just like racing Zap again.
Well, good luck in the finals.
No, thanks, guys.
Couple of thousandths of a second across the finish line means that it'll be Ben Bray going to the final. Kelvin Lyle still got a smile on his face. It's been a fantastic debut for that car. When you have a look at that eliminator ladder that's led to this final, that is one very, very tough Pro Slammo field. It is just such a competitive start to this new season. The first final of the new Pro Slammer 400 Thunder Championship season coming our way at Sydney Dragway's Atlantic Oil's East Coast Thunder. Ben Bray strapped in, ready to go. Steve Ham likewise. He's behind the wheel of the RDW Excavator Parts Camaro. Absolutely awesome final to start the points. And what about this road to the final mark? Steve Ham has relied on luck this time rather than outright performance.
Especially after the way the car was going into this event, the way he qualified, the performance of the car. I just expected him to sort of clean up, but it's been a little bit of luck, as we see here in round one against Emilio Spinozzi. He was streaking away, lost the blower belt just before the finish line. Lucky had enough legs there to make it across before Spinozzi got him.
Input shaft broke. Rev zinged way high, supercharger belt flew off, massive thrash between rounds, got here with literally a minute or two to spare to face Jeff Braden.
And Jeff Braden, unfortunately, Rob picked it up in the racing. You can see him roll through the beams, and he gets another lucky break here, gets to the finish line and goes through to the final, where he will face against this man, Benny Bray.
Well, Ben Bray ran arch rival John Zappia in round one. Now, I can tell you, Ben Bray likes to run John Zappia, but he normally likes to run him in a final. But to come up against the 11-time champ in round one, that was a task, and Ben was up to it.
Yeah, John Zappia was on a really good run up until they hurt the engine, and Benny got the win there in round one, ran a great 580 pass into the semi-finals where he faced off against Kelvin Lyle.
Well, the Mr. Laid Back of the event goes to Kelvin Lyle. The in-car footage of the burnout was fantastic, and on this run, the in-car showed Kelvin Lyle looking across, and going, damn, I didn't catch him. Great win for the Century Batteries team, and that set up this final round confrontation between two Queenslanders at Sydney Dragway for the Atlantic Oil East Coast Thunder Pro Slammer. Whoever wins this heads to round two of the championship back here at Sydney Dragway in January with the championship lead.
And it's a big one as well, because this is an elimination format style of racing. The points you gain here are critical in the championship, because next time out it will be the all-run format, where the teams will face off against each other in 3 rounds of racing. You don't get as many points that you can gain on the other teams compared to the elimination style. Benny Bray backing up. I know Benny Bray, if he was cautious with his setup in rounds 1 and 2, you can't be cautious now. He should be throwing everything at it, the kitchen sink, get aggressive with the clutch, throw a bit more fuel at her, get a bit more power into her, and see what you can do against Stephen Ham.
Well, Steve Ham's already holding 8 bonus points for top qualifying. Currently he's holding low ET and I think top speed points. They're worth 5 points each. So he's got 18 bonus just there. If he can win this, he takes a further 20-point advantage over Ben Bray. Anybody's race. Ham, look at that thing charge in the last part of the racetrack as Ben gets way loose. 5.66 for Stephen Ham. Too good for Ben Bray in the 5.70s, but an amazing final. They've both kept their best for last.
The Sunoco replay here, Stephen Ham, both these guys having a drive job, moving around. Stephen Ham gets the win, but watch Ben Bray. Big move in the braking area here towards Stephen Ham. Caught it quickly though, the experience of Benny Bray. This is going to be some great shots here on board.
Yeah, right across the finish line. You watch that supercharger. Steve Ham just eggs out a lead. Bang! Explosion under it in the manifold. That blower just held on by the restraint straps, and a wild ride for Ben Bray. But you can't take anything away from the Ham team, that is for sure. And Benny Bishop's down there with the crew chief.
Stewie Rowland, does the novelty ever wear off getting an event win?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Tough weekend. Yeah, thanks, Vic. Thank you very much, mate. A pleasure to race the Bray family, the Ham family. Great to work for. Steve's tune-up basically that run. We obviously worked together, but yeah, he was hotted up more than I was. He's a braver man than me. That's why he's where he is and I am where I am.
Mate, I'm about to give this gold Christmas tree to Stephen Ham. It's been your weekend in Pro Slammer. Not only did you top qualify, but also you've just run the fastest ET of the event in Pro Slammer.
Oh. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. Royal Lubes, Benny Bray in the final. That was a good run. I heard something. I didn't know what it was. Oh, mate. Thanks, mate. R.D. Williams, Queensland Rock Breakers. You know, we've had a good weekend. My crew just thrashed for E2 big time. And went like that with the tune-up because everything was different. We made it down, went 73 with a 1, so we were low for round 2. And, yeah.
I think you better throw Stewie Rowland a beer now.
Mate, Stu Rowland's a legend. He knows it. It's always for him. Thanks, guys.
That is a great haul of points for Stephen Ham. Maximum 118, as many as you can score it around. Ben Bray, second spot with his runner-up finish on 86. Kelvin Lyle and Jeff Gradden close together in third and fourth. Mark Inchwood is still in the hunt, and that man, John Zapier, back in sixth. Don't count him out of any Pro Slammer Championship. He is going to come back. Next up on 400 Thunder, we're going to Willowbank Raceway for the New Year's Thunder with Top Fuel, Pro Alcohol, Pro Stock, Pro Bike and Sportsman Racing. It's Nitro Flames Under Lights, main show starting at 5 o'clock. Then we return to Sydney Dragway. It's the Santos Summer Thunder, January 17th and 18th. Top Fuel and these amazing Pro Slammers are going to be back for their next round of that 400 Thunder title chase. Well, Sydney Dragway has really turned it on for the Atlantic Oil East Coast Thunder. We've had 4 amazing shows, but we're not finished yet. We're going to complete this one with a real bang. It's Top Fuel Dragster and the Comeback Kings. We have got Peter Schiberus. He's got a new car after his accident last season. But what about Phil Lamartina returning to the driver's seat of the Carrot Kings car? It is going to be enormous. But today it's been all about Stephen Ham and a maximum points haul in the championship. Can he take it all the way home? Well, we've got a lot of rounds of that series to find out.
Coming up after the break, we head down to Wakefield Park Raceway in Goulburn for the final round of the 2019 Australian Super Truck Nationals.